And Roll Rugby, and we just had breaking news of the squad has been announced. Rassie doing it again, like always, really early, and announcing his squad that will be playing in the two games against Argentina. Of course, the game at Kings Park Stadium versus Argentina, that is in Durban in South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal, and then the second one flying all the way to Twickenham to be playing against the Pumas there in England, which should also be an interesting one. South Africa's got a pretty good record when it is neutral grounds and when they don't play England. Even against England, they don't do too bad at Twickenham. So two interesting games. And then, of course, for the All Blacks, the first one at Eden Park versus the Wallabies. And then the second one, again, the Wallabies playing at home for that second one, Optus Stadium. So it's going to be interesting. It's all the teams are all square, really, if you think about it. Anyone's got a shot at this rugby championship. So South Africa then are calling the team. So let's have a look at this team. So when we look at hookers, they've brought in Bongi Mbonambi. We know he had some family issues to deal with. He's back in the mix. Along with Malcolm Marx and Marnus van der Merwe. Now, we know Jan-Hendrik Wessels can also be used as a hooker, but he's been super good as a prop lately, so I think they're going to keep him as a prop and then work with those three. Marnus van der Merwe has been brilliant since he's been kind of, with the absence of Bongi Mbonambi, he's had the opportunity to play, and he's been really good. So I think Rassie will, probably give Mbonambi some game time now in the next game, obviously being at home in a sense in Durban. So I think Mbonambi will probably come off the bench and you'll have a Malcolm Mark start for this next game. And then probably Marnus van der Merwe will be picked for the Twickenham game, but I'm just guessing right now. But not bad there, good combinations on the hookers. Let's look at the props. So the props, we've got Thomas de Toy, we've got Oxenchair, we've got Boan Venter, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Vincent Koch, and Wilco Louw. So not much has changed there from before, from the All Black Tour. So the only thing that I would say there is that, I don't know, they're not really using Vincent Koch at the moment. I don't really understand what's the point in having Vincent Koch in the team if they're not going to play him. Again, I'm curious to see if they're going to use Vincent Koch now this week for that game in Durban. I've got a big suspicion that Rassie will be looking to play a few of his players that's been, kind of getting a little bit cold on the bench. We see what happened when Damian Willemse got opportunity, what he did. He was so hungry. So maybe he'll do the same with some of these players that's not really had a lot of game time. Boan Venter obviously also limited time. So we'll see what he does. Although he might have to still keep that, spine of the team strong in experience. So we'll see what happens. But not much changes there. Then if we look at the locks, we've got Eben Etzebeth, Franco Mostert, Ruan Nortje, RG Snyman, RG Snyman. That's your four there. Now, what you'll see there is there's no Lothar Jager. He's been injured, so he's out of the mix. For the Springboks, luckily, so blessed when it comes to locks. Still really good locks there. And again, curious to see if Franco Mostert will be brought back into the mix a bit, because another guy that's been, getting a little bit coldly on the bench lately. But yeah, how do you keep Ruan Nortje out? He's got to be your first choice. He's such a good jumper, and it's such a vital position, this lock position. So to bring in new guys there is tricky, but we might start seeing Franco get some more game time. What I would love to see is more of RG Snyman on the at least from the bench. I'd love to see him start even. I think he brings so much, probably really good off the bench. Want to see more of him. His offload game is just fabulous and such a good player that I just always feel he's being wasted if they're not playing this guy. Now then, looking at the scrum halves next, we'll see that we've got Kobus Reinach, Grant Williams, Morne van der Merwe Krappie, and Faf de Klerk, the giant slayer as they call him. Is Faf gonna get a run? That's the question. Is Krappie, Morne van der Berg going to get a run? Now, we recall earlier this year, Morne van der Berg played really well. What did he score? 2 or 3 tries against, was it Italy or Georgia? I think Italy. He played superbly well. So, curious to see if he's going to get a run. But then again, the Springboks also have to be very careful of getting too complacent with putting too much inexperienced players in the team and maybe slipping a game here. They really want to be winning both these games, especially this one in Durban. I think will be, vital to win, because the Twickenham one is still the one that I think Argentina will try and target, because it's more of a neutral ground. So I really do think it's important that they still put up a really, really strong team. And yeah, are they going to play more Faf? That's the question. I personally don't think, with the style of Springboks and the way they've played lately, they should be playing that much of Faf, because he's more of a kicking type scrum off, unless he starts playing more of a running type game. Not that the Springboks didn't kick, but I just think more distribution is important, and that's what I like about a Kobus and a Grant. They're very quick to distribute the ball. Now, if Faf can play more of how he plays for the Sale Shark in distributing the ball, I don't mind him going in. But if he's really going to slow it down, that would be something that, I would like to just keep seeing the Springboks play the same type of brand of rugby as they've played in this last game, which is a much more, I think, expansive game, just running the ball a bit more. We want to see more of that, and I don't want to see Springbok rugby default back to what they did in the first test against the All Blacks. For most of this year, they've been showing that they want to run it with a good kicking mixing game, with a good forward game, which has had some worries around the lineouts at times, but they seem to be finding their form with their forwards. That's what we want to see more of. You'll notice there they've got Manie Libbok. Now, Manie Libbok, what a fabulous game again, and how he's fixed his kicking. Well deserved to be there. Andre Pollard and Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu. Now, as you can see, they're putting Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu as an option here on, as it's presented, as a fly off and not a fullback. Although we know with Sasha, I guess with any of those players, they could play them both. But I think Manie and Pollard, very much specialized fly-offs, seen as specialized fly-offs, will be picked for that first. Where Mngomezulu is there for fly-off position, but they also play him on fullback sometimes. And then the interesting other thing is no Fassi, and Fassi's obviously injured. And then, of course, also no Willie Leroux. Willie Leroux, I think the Springboks are saying, they're kind of starting to hint, maybe it's time. It's a pity for him, the way he had to go out. Probably a terrible last memory for him in a game to have conceded that try. And maybe they'll play him again later in the year, but not picking him to go. And Fassi out, which is interesting that there was no kind of like specialized fullback, if you could put it that, because we could say Damian Willems is the specialized fullback back, but not quite. Then he's being played on center. Then he's been played on fly-off at times. Then he's been played on fullback. Yeah. So interesting. They're eventually deciding then to not go for Fassi or Willie Leroux. It just shows you how strongly they feel Willie Leroux is not on form at the moment, and they shouldn't pick him. And that just raises some questions for me. The one thing I said is, if it comes to that midfield with the centers, I was like, please, man, Rassie, keep playing Damian Willems with Moody. I like the combination. It looks good. Keep playing it. But my question is, I don't know. Something indicates in this team, them not picking another fullback, that they're going to move Willems back to fullback again. Now, I'm not saying Willems is not great there, but he brought something in that center position, man. He really brought something. He worked so hard, and he was such a good inside center that I just feel if Rassie can stop moving the guys around, I know he wants utility, and there will always be utility with Willems, so he can always go play fullback. But I would have loved to see him in that center position. But because it's so crowded in that center position at the moment, I think that's why they might be pushing him back out to fullback again, which to me is such a pity, because I still believe, that Moody should be the center pair with Willems. Now, if you look at that, then if we look at the wings, we see there Chesan Colby picked as a wing, Makazolo Mapimpi being brought in. Now, experienced, but he hasn't played much lately, and then Kainan Moody. Now, it's interesting there, Kainan Moody seen as a wing again, where I really want to see Kainan Moody be considered as a center. And I think, again, it's because it's so crowded in that center selection area. But I mean, the other thing is Makazole Mampipi being picked above Edwill van der Merwe. I don't agree with that. I really just don't agree with that. Van der Merwe's put his hands up this year. Edwill van der Merwe has been all over the field every time he's played. He's back, and he's obviously fit for selection, but not being considered. So, a bit of a shocker to me there that Makazole is being picked above, someone like Van der Merwe. But again, Mapimpi probably targeting him to play in this Durban test because it's kind of like at home. So, I guess that's the reason why. But I would have liked to see Edwill van der Merwe there. He couldn't have done more this year to be considered. And it's the players we forget about. And he's not injured anymore. We know Kurtley Arendse is still injured and obviously not being considered. But Mampimpi, Van der Merwe is fit as far as I understand. So a pity to not see him there. And then the centres we see there, that's what I mean with it's crowded. Damian Delalendi still there, Andre Estreisen, Jesse Kriel, and then of course they're also putting Ethan Hooker there as a centre, being considered as a centre. Where again, that's another thing. Could Ethan Hooker maybe be a good wing? Maybe not a centre but a wing. I would rather pick a Moody or a Damian Willemse and a Moody above Hooker for me at centre at the moment. I think maybe Ethan Hooker might be good on the wing. So I just don't know if this well guys, that is the team, but I mean, I just don't know if this last game was just a once-off in Willemse and Moody playing in that centre position, and South Africa and Rassie will just default back to what he usually does with this team, because he feels he keeps building, utility in the players, which I get. And Rassie's got his plan, and I respect that. But if Rassie just realizes what he's missing out on by defaulting back to a Kriel and a Delalendi centres and Andre Estreisen, great players, each to their own, very good players and great experience, but man, sometimes we just want that excitement. I mean, that midfield with a Damian Willemse and Moody was just brilliant to see, and I would have just loved to see more of it. And I would have loved for him to build on that and build around that, and maybe let these other players that's more experienced come off the bench in that midfield, play, a Moody and Willemse in that midfield. But then who do you play on fullback? Maybe if Feinberg and Gwamazulu starts playing him more on fullback. He's been pretty good at fullback as well. And then Libbok and a Pollard, in that fly-off position. And then, of course, you got an Ethan Hooker that you can then slot into the wing. And then you have more than enough impact of experience coming off the bench if you have a Delalendi and a Kriel and a Estreisen. But I don't know if Rassie will do this again. Would have loved to see that. Nice to still see Colby in the mix there as well. I mean, Colby's just been so exciting to see them feed Colby some ball. But that's my question. We do default back to Delalendi and Kriel were not able to give Colby the type of ball that Libbok, Willemse and Moody has been able to do. That backline's worked for our wings, and I'm just questioning, should that be changed? Well, I'm making assumptions. We don't know what Rassie's going to pick out of this team, but just indicated to me that he might use Damian Willemse on fullback or Mgomezulu, one of those two, which means we won't see that same team again we saw for that second test against the All Blacks, which I thoroughly enjoyed and loved so much. And I just feel, why go mess with that? If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, wherever. I thank you guys for watching as always, and can't wait for these last two games. It's going to be fabulous for all the teams. It's going to be brilliant. I'm going to watch them all. Thanks so much. See you in the next one. Bye.